Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another great lesson here with English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're bringing you an upper intermediate lesson.
A special lesson about the new president.
Right. It's been a hot topic in the U.S. The new president-elect, President Obama.
Yes.
So today we're bringing you something that you might see at his inaugural address.
That's true. So, Marco, can you explain this word, inaugural address?
The inaugural address is the first speech the president gives at the ceremony when he is officially president.
Okay. All right. So
Right.
It's his first presidential speech.
Exactly. Great. So let's take a look at some other words that we're going to find in the dialogue today in Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
All right. On Vocabulary Preview today, we have two words. The first one is swear in.
Swear in.
Swear in.
Swear in. We'll see this word in its past tense in the dialogue, right? Sworn in.
Sworn in.
So it means...
So to swear someone in is to officially give that person a very important position,
Right.
usually in government.
Yeah.
And our second word is oath.
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 O-A-T-H. Oath.
An oath goes hand in hand with swear in, right?
That's right. When you swear someone in, they make an oath. A promise, right?
A promise.
An official promise to carry out the duties of that job.
Right, so they promise that they will do their job. Okay, great. So now let's listen to our dialogue for a first time. Where are we?
Well, we're actually watching a news reporter on TV. She's in Washington and she's going to tell us all about what's happening.
Great, so let's listen.
This is Madeline Wright for BCC News reporting live from Washington, D.C., where very shortly the new president will deliver his inaugural address. Just moments ago, the president was sworn into office. Following the United States Constitution, the president swore an oath to faithfully execute the office of the presidency.
And what exactly is going on now, Madeline?
Well, Tom, true to American tradition, the band has just played Hail to the Chief, and the president has been honored with a 21-gun salute. Now we're waiting for the president to take the stage and deliver his speech. Tom, it's like the who's who of the political world here on Capitol Hill, with dignitaries representing several different countries.
What's the mood on the ground like, Madeline?
In a word, the mood here is electric. The excitement in the air is palpable. I've never seen a larger crowd here on Capitol Hill. The audience is shouting, crying, and embracing each other. On this, a most historic day, you can feel the hope and the excitement in the air. The 20th of January will go down in history as the... Oh, Tom, it looks like the president is about to begin.
My fellow Americans, I stand before you today
Welcome to World Pod English Video. My name is Liana. Today, we'll unpack the U.S. presidential inauguration, what happens, who's there, and the exact language you'll hear, so you can follow the ceremony like a native and talk about it with confidence.
My name is Luca. We'll break down the oath, the inaugural address, the parade, and the traditions, plus a toolbox of vocabulary, phrases, and mini-scripts you can use in class, at work, or online when people discuss the big day.
Let's start with the basics. Inauguration Day is when a new 4-year presidential term officially begins, legally at noon on January 20. If that date lands on a Sunday, the public ceremony often moves to Monday, but the oath still happens on Sunday in a small ceremony. That timing comes from the 20th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
And the stage? The ceremony is traditionally held at the U.S. Capitol, on a massive platform on the West Front, a location used regularly since 1981 because it offers a sweeping view of the National Mall and more room for spectators and cameras.
Quick who's who on that platform? You'll usually find the president-elect and vice president-elect and their families, the Chief Justice and other justices, former presidents, cabinet members, governors, diplomats, members of Congress, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and invited guests. Well over 1,600 people.
Vocabulary checkpoint. Say these clearly. Inaugural address. Oath of office. To swear in. Peaceful transfer of power. Dignitaries. Reviewing stand. Salute.
The heart of the ceremony is the presidential oath. It's short and exact. The Constitution writes it word for word. I do solemnly swear, or affirm, that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Most presidents repeat it line by line after the oath giver.
Who gives the oath? Usually the Chief Justice of the United States, by tradition, not because the Constitution requires it. In U.S. history, others have administered the oath when needed. For example, a state official for Washington's first inauguration, so the role is customary, not mandatory.
You may also hear the phrase, "So help me God." It's not in the constitutional text. It's an optional addition many presidents choose. The Constitution annotated even notes that many presidents have appended it.
After the oath comes the inaugural address, a tradition going all the way back to George Washington, who delivered the first one on April 30, 1789. These speeches often aim to unite the nation, outline key values, and set priorities.
Listening skills time. Spot the rhetorical moves you'll often hear. Triads: unity, dignity, and hope. Anaphora: repeating a phrase at the start of lines. We will, we will. Inclusive pronouns: we, our, together, to build common purpose. Antithesis: balancing opposites, not because it is easy, but because it is hard.
Mini phrase bank for discussing speeches. The address called for unity and outlined the domestic agenda. The president vowed to uphold the Constitution and appeal to shared values. Commentators praised the tone but questioned the policy specifics.
Scenes beyond the swearing-in. The Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies coordinates the Capitol events and the inaugural luncheon that follows. Afterward, Washington often hosts an inaugural parade down Pennsylvania Avenue with a reviewing stand near the White House, an old tradition visible in historic parades like John F. Kennedy's in 1961.
Culture notes and sound cues. The Marine Band frequently plays Hail to the Chief to honor the president. You may hear a 21-gun salute as a military honor. These are ceremonial signals of respect rooted in long tradition.
Let's teach the language of oaths and ceremony. Useful verbs and collocations. Administer an oath. Take, swear, or affirm an oath. Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Deliver, give an inaugural address. Attend the ceremony, host a luncheon, review the parade.
Grammar focus, formal, precise English. Notice how the oath uses solemn adverbs, solemnly. Capitalized offices, Office of President, Constitution. Parallel verbs, preserve, protect, and defend. Try modeling this structure. I will study, practice, and improve my English this year.
Quick pronunciation and rhythm tips for key terms. Inauguration. Inaugural. Dignitaries. Affirm. Conversation frames for small talk. Did you watch the inauguration? What part stood out to you? The oath is so concise, but the address was pretty sweeping. I appreciated the tone of unity, call to service, or focus on the Constitution. Reporting verbs for news summaries. The Chief Justice administered the oath. The President pledged to, promised to, committed to. Crowds gathered on the National Mall.
Idioms you might hear in coverage. A new chapter begins. A turning point in national politics. The president struck a conciliatory tone. Use them with specifics. In the address, the president struck a conciliatory tone on economic policy.
Let's role-play a guided listening to the oath. I'll paraphrase the sense and you match it to the exact line. I will officially do the job faithfully. I will faithfully execute the office. I will protect the Constitution as best I can. To the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution.
Now, a micro-dictation exercise for the inaugural address. Listen for triads and repetition. Example line. Our task is to rebuild, to renew, and to restore trust. Hear the rhythm. That's classic inaugural style.
culture and civics in one sentence. The inauguration showcases the peaceful transfer of power, a foundational democratic norm, even when parties change. That's why the ceremony's tone matters as much as its text.
Mini glossary of places and people. Capitol, legislature building. Don't confuse with Capital City. West Front, outdoor terrace of the Capitol used for modern ceremonies. Chief Justice, head of the Supreme Court, typically gives the oath. 𝗕cic, bipartisan committee that runs the Capitol events.
Quick history sparks you can drop into conversation. The first inaugural address, Washington, 1789. Modern West Front tradition, entrenched since Reagan, 1981. If January 20 falls on a Sunday, a private oath on Sunday, public ceremony Monday.
Pro tip for learners. When you summarize an inaugural address, use this three-part template. Theme, policies, tone. Example, theme, unity. Policies, energy, immigration, infrastructure. Tone, hopeful and firm.
Let's craft elevator sentences you can post or say in a meeting. The president took the oath at noon, then delivered a 20-minute inaugural address focused on economic growth and national unity. The ceremony on the Capitol's West Front featured the Marine Band and a formal salute, followed by a luncheon and a parade down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Listening for ceremonial markers. Music cue, hail to the chief. Canon cue, salute. Context dependent, often 21 for heads of state. Announcement cue. The oath begins. Microphones pick up the repeating lines.
Polite language for discussing disagreements online. I see your point. I interpreted that line differently. Could you clarify what you mean by? I respectfully disagree because the official text says, then link to the constitutional oath.
Let's rehearse a learning dialogue you can adapt. A. What did the oath require? B. To faithfully execute the office and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. A. Who administered it? B. Traditionally the Chief Justice, though others have done it.
Now, a speaking challenge. Use formal verbs. Today, the president affirmed the oath and pledged to serve all Americans. Leaders from both parties attended the ceremony as dignitaries on the inaugural platform.
Style Clinic. 3 ways to sound informed but neutral. 1. Use specific nouns. The 20th Amendment. The West Front of the Capitol. 2. Prefer verifiable verbs. Stated, cited, quoted. 3. Avoid loaded adjectives. Choose measured, concise, broad.
Writing practice. Tweet-length summaries. Under 280 characters. At noon, the president took the constitutional oath at the Capitol and delivered an inaugural address stressing unity and civic duty. Marine Band, salute, parade, classic inauguration markers return to Pennsylvania Avenue.
Listening pro move. Build a phrase bank from the address. Collect 5 strong verbs, e.g., strengthen, renew, restore, build, safeguard, and 5 nouns. Liberty, prosperity, justice, opportunity, unity. Then write your own 3-sentence mini address using them.
Quick comparison vocabulary for Q&A. Oath versus pledge, legal promise versus general promise, address versus speech, formal label versus general term, affirm versus swear, non-religious versus religious wording. Etiquette note. Some presidents use a Bible or another text, some do not. The Constitution doesn't require any book. What is required is the exact oath. Keep that distinction clear in conversation. Fast fact card you can memorize. When? Noon, January 20. Where? Capitol, West Front. Who gives oath? Traditionally, Chief Justice. What next? Inaugural address, luncheon, parade.
And a listening checklist for the address. Catch the theme in the first paragraph. Note policy clusters, economy, security, climate, etc. Identify at least one triad and one call to action. Write a one-line summary you could say to a colleague.
Before we close, try a shadowing drill with me. Repeat naturally. I do solemnly swear, to the best of my ability, Today, we renew our vows to the Constitution. Let us build a future of opportunity.
And finish with a speaking scaffold for interviews or class. In my view, the inauguration symbolizes continuity under law. The speech's strongest moment was the appeal to shared values. I learned the oath is precisely written in the Constitution.
You now have the civics, the ceremony, and the language. When the next inauguration day arrives, you'll know what you're hearing and how to talk about it, clearly, calmly, and confidently.
Thanks for learning with us at WorldPod English Video. Keep these phrases handy for your next conversation about the inauguration, and let your English shine with accuracy and respect.
Okay, some technical problems at the inaugural address.
Yeah, I certainly hope this doesn't happen.
Well, if it does, you heard it first at English Pod.
Predictors of the future here.
Okay, let's take a look at language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
On language takeaway today, we're bringing you 4 words.
The first word is deliver.
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 Like deliver a pizza.
No. Let's listen. We've got 3 examples that will show the meaning of this word.
Example 1.
Who's going to deliver the welcome speech?
Example 2. I've been asked to deliver a presentation on the findings of our research project. Example 3.
Dr. Rosen is delivering a lecture on macroeconomics.
Okay, so deliver a speech.
Say a speech.
To say a speech.
Yeah,
So you wouldn't say a speech, you would say deliver a speech.
exactly.
Okay. Okay, our second word for language takeaway, the who's who.
The who's who.
The who's who.
So this is a funny expression, hey?
It's kind of weird.
The who's who is the important people in a particular field, right?
Right. So, for example, there was a party last night and the who's who of the film industry was there.
Whoa, so all the important stars
And directors
yeah,
and all that stuff.
Okay. You could also say the funeral was like a who's who of the political world.
Okay, so all the important political figures were at this funeral.
Exactly. Let's move to our third word.
Dignitaries.
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 Okay, we have some great examples so you can understand what this word means. So let's listen.
Example 1. Several important dignitaries were present at the opening ceremony, including the President of Brazil, the King of Spain, and the Pope. Example 2.
There are going to be a lot of foreign dignitaries at the dinner.
So basically, we can understand that dignitaries are really important people, right?
Right. Important political or religious figures.
I see.
All right, now our last word for language takeaway, palpable.
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 Palpable. When something is palpable, it's so strong you can feel it.
Okay, so it's a very strong feeling. You can almost touch it.
Yeah, like the excitement was palpable or the fear was palpable.
Okay, interesting word, palpable. Let's listen to our dialogue again, and now let's try and listen to all these words we just talked about.
This is Madeline Wright for BCC News, reporting live from Washington, D.C., where very shortly the new president will deliver his inaugural address. Just moments ago, the president was sworn into office. Following the United States Constitution, the president swore an oath to faithfully execute the office of the presidency.
And what exactly is going on now, Madeline?
Well, Tom, true to American tradition, the band has just played Hail to the Chief, and the president has been honored with a 21-gun salute. Now we're waiting for the president to take the stage and deliver his speech. Tom, it's like the who's who of the political world here on Capitol Hill, with dignitaries representing several different countries.
What's the mood on the ground like, Madeline?
In a word, the mood here is electric. The excitement in the air is palpable. I've never seen a larger crowd here on Capitol Hill. The audience is shouting, crying, and embracing each other. On this, a most historic day, you can feel the hope and the excitement in the air. The 20th of January will go down in history as the... Oh, Tom, it looks like the president is about to begin.
My fellow Americans, I stand before you today.
Okay, so if you noticed in our dialogue, we have some really interesting phrases there.
Yes.
So I think it's time for us to take a look at Fluency Builder.
Fluency builder.
On Fluency Builder today, we're going to be looking at 3 phrases that are very interesting because we can change them a little bit and form different patterns.
Yeah. So the first phrase we have is in a word.
In a word.
In a word.
In a word.
We use this expression when we want to describe something in one word.
Right.
Pretty simple, hey?
It's really simple.
Let's look at the pattern. We've got examples of how you could use this phrase.
Example 1. In a word, the situation is serious. Example 2.
What's it like there?
In a word, it's amazing.
Okay, so in a word, this podcast is
Awesome.
amazing.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's look at our second phrase today. Go down in history.
Go down in history.
Go down in history.
So this is a really common phrase. I'm sure you guys have heard it.
Yeah, basically something that is really important that everyone will remember for a very long time.
Let's look at this pattern with a few examples.
Example 1.
This is going to go down in history as the worst disaster the world has ever seen.
Example 2. He'll go down in history as the best president we've ever had. Example 3.
This day will go down in history. Okay, so as you can see, the pattern is we're using a superlative.
That's right. The most, the best,
The biggest,
the worst.
the worst, right?
And our final phrase in putting it together is
My fellow Americans.
my fellow Americans.
My fellow Americans.
So obviously you can change this one up a little bit, hey?
Right, you can say my fellow co-workers,
Uh-huh. My fellow citizens.
my fellow family members.
Yes.
So basically fellow just means like dear
Yeah.
in some way.
So, similar.
Similar.
Yeah.
So we looked at some great vocabulary and phrases, and now let's talk a little bit about these American traditions when electing a new president.
Yes.
Today in the studio we have JP who's joining us,
Hi, everyone.
Hey, JP.
and he's going to be talking to us about these traditions.
Oh, I am. Okay.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
21 gun salute, what's that all about?
The 21 gun salute is the military salute where they say, and now we will have the 21 gun salute. So 21 soldiers with their rifles, they go, hur, 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 poof, and they all shoot them off at the same time. And I don't know why.
Oh, I think it's a sign of respect, hey?
Yeah.
Weird respect though.
Well,
shooting
I think
guns.
in Europe they would do a cannon or something.
Oh.
Right.
One cannon
right.
salute?
No, well, just cannons. Maybe just one cannon.
Maybe our European listeners know the answer to
Maybe.
this.
Okay, and what about this song Hail to the Chief? Do you know anything about that?
I do not know anything about it, except that it's a march, and I think it's Sousa. I think John Philip Sousa wrote it. And whenever the president walks into a room, they play that song.
Really?
Yes, and I played it once for President Bush, the first one. I was a drummer.
You
and,
did?
And my marching band had to play that song for him.
Oh my God,
Wow.
JP, you're like famous.
Yeah, this was back in like 1986 or something. Was that even an election year? 88? I don't know.
Well, you did play for the president, so you
That's
know.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, JP, do you have any other sort of traditional things that happen when the president becomes the president?
Well, I can tell you that Jimmy Carter, you know, when he was elected president, his motorcade was going down Pennsylvania Avenue, and he stopped the car and got out.
Really?
Do what?
Yeah, to walk. He wanted to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. He wanted to walk down the, down the street.
To be with the people.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it made the Secret Service insane.
Maybe the car smelled bad or something.
Maybe so. I think that is my memory of it. I might be confusing with The West Wing, but I'm not
Too much TV.
Yeah, maybe. But when the president walks, it's a big deal. You know?
So, JP, do you do anything special for the inauguration ceremony?
I always take the day off to watch.
You do?
I love watching it. I love, I love the swearing in ceremony, the ritual of it, the speech.
All right, everyone, we're out of time. I hope you enjoyed this political lesson.
And I hope you have a happy inauguration day.
Happy inauguration day, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. We're definitely going to take the day off to watch it with JP. And hopefully you guys can too.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. And until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Welcome to WorldPod English Video. My name is Sophia. Today, I will tell you a story about language, hope, and the powerful words we hear during a U.S. presidential inauguration. I woke before sunrise in Washington, D.C., and the city felt like a page waiting for the first line of a new chapter. I wrapped a blue scarf around my neck and whispered, "Today I will listen for the vocabulary of democracy and the heartbeat behind every phrase." The air was cold, but the sidewalks carried warm footsteps from people who had traveled far to witness history together. On Pennsylvania Avenue, I met a teacher from Ohio who held a small notebook with the words "Inaugural Address" written on the cover. She smiled and said, "I ask my students to circle strong verbs during the speech because verbs show where a country wants to move." I nodded and felt brave because learning English can be a map when the world changes quickly. I walked toward the Capitol and saw volunteers in bright jackets guiding the crowd like kind commas in a long sentence. A police officer pointed me to the security line and said welcome, and I felt included by a single simple word. Above us, the U.S. Capitol glowed pale against the morning, and the West Front platform stood like a stage built for careful promises. A student beside me whispered, "The 20th Amendment says the new term begins at noon on January 20th, and I repeated the time softly to remember. Another visitor added, "If the date is a Sunday, a private oath can happen first, and the public ceremony comes Monday," and I stored the detail like a useful idiom. I breathed slowly because dates and times are vocabulary too, and they carry the rhythm of laws. I thought about my grandmother who practiced English late at night and told me words are tiny keys that open big doors. She once traced the word oath on a paper napkin and said this is a promise you can hold in your hand even when your hands shake. So I tucked my phone away and promised myself to hold the words with care today. A brass sound rose from the distance like sunshine made of music, and someone said that's the Marine Band preparing Hail to the Chief. The melody skipped across the crowd and stitched strangers together with familiar notes. Even the flags seemed to breathe in and out, like a classroom repeating vocabulary in chorus. An announcer's voice floated across the mall and introduced dignitaries, leaders, judges, former presidents, and guests whose titles were longer than their steps. I whispered the word dignitaries to feel its weight, and the syllables sounded like a doorway creaking open to a formal room. Names rose and fell like waves, and the crowd responded with applause that felt like a polite verb. Near the platform, a child held a small sign that said, "Peaceful Transfer of Power," and her mother explained each word carefully, as if she were teaching a bedtime story. The phrase settled on my tongue like a serious candy that melts slowly and leaves a lesson behind. I thanked the mother for modeling clarity, and she laughed and said, "English teachers are everywhere today." The clock crept toward noon, and the air tightened like the last second before a firework opens. Two figures stepped forward, and the Chief Justice lifted a right hand with the steady grammar of tradition. The president-elect raised a hand too, and the page turned from waiting to speaking in a single breath. The words of the oath of office moved line by line, like stones across water, and the crowd repeated them in hearts even if lips stayed quiet.
I heard I do solemnly swear and felt the adverb solemnly sit like a candle protecting the flame of meaning. I heard that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and noticed how faithfully partners with execute to promise both loyalty and action. I heard, and will to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and the three verbs stood shoulder to shoulder like guards around a library. Somewhere near me, a person added softly, "So help me God," and I remembered that that line is optional, like a button you may choose to fasten for comfort. The oath ended and the air exhaled, and a new job began with a sentence that cannot be paraphrased without losing its law. Applause rolled over the steps and down the mall like warm rain on cold stone. A salute cracked the sky, and the distant rhythm of a 21-gun salute marked the moment with careful thunder. I pressed a hand to my scarf and said thank you words for doing your job today. Then came the part my notebook had been waiting for, the inaugural address, where tone and vocabulary hold hands and walk forward together. The new president began with a triad, and my pen smiled because triads are the drums of speeches. I watched for anaphora, those repeated openings that build momentum like steps on a staircase. And yes, there it was, returning like a helpful echo. When the speech reached for unity, the pronouns widened to we and our, and the sound of community replaced the sound of rivalry. I marked collocations in the margins, uphold the Constitution, renew the promise, call to service, because word partners are friendships inside language. The address called for work that is not simple, and the voice balanced resolve with humility the way a tightrope walker balances wind with breath.
A veteran near me wiped his eyes and whispered, "I just want the country to speak kindly to itself again." An immigrant grandmother squeezed my arm and said, "We practice English to practice listening," and I believed her because her accent carried courage instead of apology. We were three strangers sharing a classroom without walls, and the teacher was a microphone and a cold January sky. The president told a short story about a nurse who worked all night, and the verbs were simple: care, carry, and return, and the simplicity felt like truth written in pencil. When the speech lifted toward hope, the cadence slowed so the nouns could land: liberty, justice, opportunity, and unity, and the crowd caught them like softballs thrown gently to many hands. I remembered my grandmother again and thought the best speeches sound like letters to people who will never be invited to the platform, but still carry the nation on their backs. After the address, I followed a flowing river of people toward the reviewing stand route where the parade would roll like a big sentence with many clauses. A marching band turned a corner, and the drums pronounced commas, while the brass wrote exclamation points nobody needed to edit. The cold forgot to bite for a moment because music is a coat you can share with strangers without worrying about size. I found a spot near a family from Arizona who were teaching their kids parade vocabulary with patient smiles. The father explained escort, formation, and salute, and the mother added tradition and custom, and the children tried each word on their tongues like new hats. When a service member saluted, the youngest child saluted back, and we all learned how respect can travel faster than sound. Between floats, I scribbled a learning note for my listeners. To talk about ceremonies, we often use precise verbs like administer, attend, deliver, affirm, and pledge, because precision is the polite suit of formal English. I added a grammar reminder that solemn events love parallel structure, so 3 verbs in a row feel dignified and balanced. I underlined a sentence frame for future study. Today we honor, remember, and renew, because frames are ladders for ideas that want to climb. As the parade moved on, I bought hot chocolate from a cheerful vendor whose cart steamed like a friendly dragon. He asked what I was writing, and I said, a story about words that help people stand together without pushing. And he laughed and said, then you're writing about lines and patience.
We toasted with paper cups to patience, because patience is the quiet cousin of freedom. Nearby, a reporter stood with a camera crew and delivered a short segment using crisp reporting verbs: said, stated, pledged, and emphasized, and even his breath sounded edited. He summarized the day in 30 seconds and placed the words peaceful transfer at the center like a lens that makes the picture clear. I realized good summaries are like good bridges: strong, short, and exactly where you need them. When the parade paused, I visited a small exhibit where volunteers explained the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, and the acronym JCCI folded into my notebook like a neat paper bird. They described how seats are assigned, how tickets work, and how the inaugural luncheon happens after the ceremony, with speeches that taste like careful desserts. I thanked them because details are the spices of memory, and they make a story smell like itself. I stepped aside and called my grandmother, who answered with the soft thunder of a teapot. She asked, did the words hold? And I said yes, they held like hands that have learned not to drop each other in crowds. She whispered, remember that every oath is a promise to someone you will never meet, and I promise to pass that sentence to anyone who would listen. On a quiet side street, I met a young speechwriter carrying a small stack of index cards like birds he was afraid to set free too fast. I asked what makes an inaugural address work, and he said the verbs must walk, the nouns must breathe, and the pronouns must invite, not exclude. He added, we write for the microphone, but also for the grandmother in the back row, who came to hear if the future remembers her. And I nodded because I knew that woman. I told him I teach English through stories, and he smiled and said stories are how nations repeat vocabulary until it becomes behavior. He wished me luck and disappeared into a building that smelled like paper and nerves, and I wished him courage and commas that know when to stop. Evening drifted in like a blue shawl, and city lights turned sidewalks into constellations you could step on. People began to head home with tired smiles and pockets full of ticket stubs and new words. The city exhaled, and I felt the strange calm that comes after a long sentence finds its period. I sat on a bench and opened my notebook to review the key vocabulary that had walked beside me all day. I wrote oath, inaugural address, swear in, affirm, dignitaries, reviewing stand, salute, peaceful transfer of power, 20th Amendment, and West Front, and I underlined them like street names on a map back to understanding. I practiced short sample lines out loud because speaking makes words warm and ready. I said the Chief Justice administered the oath at noon, and I felt the sentence click like a key turning smoothly. I said the president delivered an inaugural address that called for unity, and I watched the verbs stand at attention politely. I said crowds of citizens and dignitaries attended the ceremony, and the nouns arranged themselves the way chairs arrange themselves for a concert.
I added an idiom to keep the language friendly and real. The country begins a new chapter, and the tone felt like a porch light turning on. I added a caution for myself that neutral language is a kindness when we study big days, because learning grows better in shade than in fire. I promised to keep my classroom a place where differences can sit down and drink tea without shouting at the cup. As I closed my notebook, a child walked past humming the band's melody, and the tune wrapped around the evening like a ribbon that did not need to be tied again. I thought about how ceremonies are stories we tell with chairs and steps and microphones, so we can remember who we choose to be when we are watched by our children. I whispered to the night that I would keep teaching the careful verbs of respect and the steady nouns of law, because English is not only sound, it is promise. On the metro home, I sat beside a college student underlining phrases in a transcript with bright green ink. He asked me what 3 words I would choose to carry from today, and I answered listen, honor, and build, because ears, hearts, and hands must work together. He smiled and added practice, and we shook on it like teammates who just learned a new play. I arrived at my small apartment, switched on a lamp with a yellow shade, and placed my scarf on the back of a chair like a flag at rest. I brewed tea and set my notebook by the kettle so steam could bless the notes like a quiet benediction. I replayed the oath in my head and felt the verbs march by again with their tiny uniforms of meaning. I realized that a country is partly a dictionary we keep updating together, word by word, vote by vote, promise by promise. If we learn the right words and use them with care, the next sentence can be kinder, and the next paragraph can include more people without losing the plot. I decided to teach tomorrow's class with the oath as a model of precise English and the address as a model of generous rhythm. Before sleep, I wrote a final exercise for you, my listener, because a story becomes a lesson when it gives you something to try. Write 3 lines tonight using the structure I will, verb, and I will, verb, to promise something small and good to your community. Say the lines out loud with a gentle, steady voice and let the verbs lead you toward action like patient streetlights. I turned off the lamp and left the window a little open so the city could whisper goodnight in the language of buses and distant footsteps. I thanked the day for introducing me to strangers who felt like classmates and to music that felt like a teacher with perfect timing. I fell asleep knowing that the vocabulary of inauguration had become part of my everyday English, not as decoration, but as direction. And if you are listening now and holding these words like warm stones in your hands, remember that your voice also belongs on the platform of your life. When you speak clearly, kindly, and courageously, you perform your own peaceful transfer of fear into action. May your next address to your family, your class, your team, or yourself call you to serve with dignity, to listen with humility, and to build with resolve.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. Give information by speaking. Say something officially.
Deliver.
Place someone in a new position by holding an official ceremony where he promises to do the job well.
Swear in.
Official. Serious promise.
Oath.
Important and famous people in a particular industry.
Who's who.
Person with a high rank or position, especially in government or religion.
Dignitary.
So strong you can feel it. Obvious.
Palpable.
To describe it in one word.
In a word.
Used to describe people of the same group.
Fellow.
Be remembered.
Go down in history.
Let's try that faster. Be remembered.
Go down in history.
Person with a high rank or position, especially in government or religion.
Dignitary.
Be remembered.
Go down in history.
Person with a high rank or position, especially in government or religion.
Dignitary.
Official. Serious promise.
Oath.
To describe it in one word.
In a word.
Important and famous people in a particular industry.
Who's who.
Used to describe people of the same group.
Fellow.
Person with a high rank or position, especially in government or religion.
Dignitary.
Place someone in a new position by holding an official ceremony where he promises to do the job well.
Swear in.
Give information by speaking. Say something officially.
Deliver.
To describe it in one word.
In a word.
Place someone in a new position by holding an official ceremony where he promises to do the job well.
Swear in.
Important and famous people in a particular industry.
Who's who.
To describe it in one word.
In a word.
Be remembered.
Go down in history.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Deliver. Who is going to deliver the welcome speech? Swear in. The president-elect will be sworn in on the 20th of January. Oath. The president swore an oath to lead the country fairly and justly. Who's who? The convention was like a who's who of the auto industry. Palpable. I had a palpable sense of relief when I heard your plane landed safely. Dignitary. Several important dignitaries were present at the opening ceremony, including the President of Brazil, the King of Spain, and the Pope. Go down in history. This is going to go down in history as the worst disaster the world has ever seen. Deliver. Who is going to deliver the welcome speech? Who's who? The convention was like a who's who of the auto industry. Dignitary. Several important dignitaries were present at the opening ceremony, including the President of Brazil, the King of Spain, and the Pope. Go down in history. This is going to go down in history as the worst disaster the world has ever seen.